Good evening, how we doing? A little bit later than the scheduled time of 6 p.m, but you know me. I'm not quite 1 or 2 minutes late. It's not really me that's doing it. Anyway, I know we're a bit beyond that as well. Just been catching up on things today, and it's felt like that a little bit today. Catching up after kind of taking time out over the weekend, and it's a little bit like that holiday thing, you know, when you have to work really hard up to it to have it, the holiday, and then when you get back, you're in a bit of a catch up. And it certainly wasn't a holiday over the weekend. And I know I've talked about the XCC, I talked about the morning coffee on Saturday morning, talked about it on Thursday, then I was already out doing it and did morning coffee on Friday, and you know, still doing workouts and the boot camp and things. But the extreme character challenge that I did was physical and certainly based around thought processes and thinking, and getting me thinking about the challenges that I face and things I struggle with. And yeah, it was great. Really good time to take a bit of time out to focus on the hard stuff, you know, because there's the stuff I like to focus on, you know, the kind of positive, the moving forward, the something to share with you guys, you know, to the daily focus, the lunge and listen, all that sort of stuff, you know. But underneath that kind of, that moving forward and my natural kind of, in a sense, positive showing, and believe me, some of it a little bit is for you, in the sense of it's not always the full picture, you know. There is some stuff I need to dig into and sort out, which I've talked about before. And in my experience, a lot of my things that I struggle with is often there's a bit of moving forward and a bit of dropping back, in the sense of you get better at processing, dealing with, working on something, and then there's the triggers, you know, and the triggers can be can pop up almost from anywhere sometimes. I actually think, oh shoot, I thought I dealt with that, and then yeah, something comes up, and I'll tell you, the number one trigger for me is being too tired, being tired, and I really struggle to, in a sense, it's not the right kind of term, because it's a bit, maybe it is, struggle to self-regulate, really, struggle to actually be the person I want to be, and I kind of default into old patterns, and you know, being tired, not recovering, resting properly, is something I'm really bad at. So to add to do my week of work as usual, and then before that's even finished, start doing the extra stuff I was doing, was potentially a recipe for struggle, and in a sense it did prove right. But getting back to where I need to be today, recovering. I had an afternoon nap yesterday. I haven't done that on a Sunday for a long time. I used to do it quite a little bit when I was DJing. Sometimes. There was one couple that Hannah and I were friends with when we were first married, and I used to fall asleep on their sofa pretty much every Sunday whenever we went round. Not every single Sunday we went round, but whenever they invited us round, I would fall asleep on their sofa. I think it was just because I had a really good sofa, and they were always pretty chill about what was going on, and they always fed us really good food, and so I used to fall asleep for an hour or so afterwards, you know, and I wasn't even 30 at that stage, so you imagine what I could be like now. But yeah, very good. But what I want to talk about, in a sense, is the similar sort of thing, that 2 steps forward and 1 step back, is that progress. I talk about progress a lot, and it can look like lots of different things. It is both, it's equally frustrating and elating. It's equally hard and annoying as it can be positive. And you know, progress is one of those things, it kind of seems to hide itself away, and something is happening that is not tangible, and we want the tangible to happen. We want to see the scales move, we want to see the numbers go up with what we're lifting if we're at the gym, we want to see the calories going up on the spin bike, we want to see the watch saying this is better, and you know, we want to measure ourselves each month or each week or whatever, see the changes, and it is frustrating that that doesn't happen. And I get that, I really get that, because I've been there as well. But the body is a crazy, amazing thing, and something's happening. If you're doing the things, working on the principles, something's happening. And I've talked about it extensively. Add the monthly cycle, the changes that go on for that for you ladies into the mix as well. Then it becomes even more kind of, in a sense, all over the place in terms of progress. You can look like actually there's improvements, and then suddenly, boom, it seems like everything's gone, and 5 pounds goes on the scales for like no reason other than it's day 23 and you're approaching your period. And you're like, what? Because your body's retaining water, ready to do all the stuff it's got to do. But you know, you can eat really, really well, and you have a Chinese, for instance, or any sort of takeaway, and it fits your macros, everything's perfect, but you don't take into account the salt and the MSG and all those other things in there that make you retain water, and the scales go up. And you have that on Saturday night and you weigh yourself on Sunday, you're like, oh my days, that one meal's messed it up. That one meal hasn't messed it up, it's just created a change in your body that, in a sense, isn't real. It's not a real change, it's not a real negative change, it's just something that's happened. And you know, some people and some nutritionists, some PTs, when someone who's like really looking for results will get people to weigh themselves every single day, I don't believe that ultimately is very healthy, because then it might create a obsession with weighing and what it says. Hey Edward, but it's just a tool, and that can work in terms of then taking an average. Another kind of good way, maybe a slightly better way of doing it, so it's less kind of scales focused, is to weigh on, say, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and do an average of the three. But even then, you know, it's almost inexplicable why the scales don't change. And the reason I'm focused on the scales right now in this part of what I'm talking about is because it's kind of the quickest and the easiest to do, and if we're not careful, it's the only thing we look at then, because getting the tape measure out and making sure you're measuring in the same place as last time is a little bit harder to do. And looking at the number of press ups or squats, or you know, the fitness tests, doing those again, you know, actually that's not as easy to kind of do. And if you're training consistently as well, actually really to do well on them, you probably need to back off for at least a day beforehand, in terms of like kind of, in a sense, do them fresh. That's what I'm saying, to say actually where you're at. If you take into account that the body usually takes between 48 and 72 hours to fully recover from working hard. If you've done, say, boot camp on a Saturday morning with, you know, 4, 5, 6, sometimes lots of press up variations in it, and then you're aiming to do the press ups, you say that I'll just test where I'm at on Sunday, you probably will progress, because you know, we've all got that ability to kind of push ourselves, and especially if we've got a target, we'll try and meet it or whatever. You know, but maybe you won't get as much progress because actually you're not fresh. So in a sense, we've got to kind of think and plan carefully actually when we do these tests. Even more so, say, right, we're coming around to the end of June, first week in July, whatever it's going to be, and we'll come around to that first month, that 28 days again being done, and we're going to retest everything. If, for instance, on that weekend you've done boot camp on Saturday, something else on Sunday, big walk, hopefully the weather will be back to being great, and you're a bit dehydrated as well, those fitness tests might not actually show you improvement. But really what I want to get across is that something's happening. If you're doing the stuff, if you're doing the nutrition, if you're doing activity, doing workouts, you know, you're getting your steps in, you're just moving in general, you might have a really physical job, something's happening, you know, and it's intangible to start with. You can't see it, in some ways you can't feel it. In the early stages, it might be actually, well, this is hard work doing these workouts, and you know, just started and been quads are hurting every single day, and I get to Friday and I can feel my glutes, and you know, I can't wait for Friday evening to sit down and relax, and then, you know, try and get moving again on Saturday morning, and you know, feel a bit, sleep in a bit on Saturday and really feel a bit like, well, actually even more stiff on a Saturday. All these things are meaning something's happening, and the actual changes and progress in terms of muscles and body composition occur when we're resting. It doesn't happen actually during the activity and the exercise and the workouts. That's a stimulus. So on that, we have got to leave that gap before we do a fitness test, because otherwise we're not going to be recovered and ready for the test. So really what I'm trying to get across is I understand how frustrating progress is, and it's that consistency and a healthy dose of patience to keep us going. And I know effort goes in, and you want to be rewarded, and that's natural. We society-wise, we are geared towards reward. You do something and you get something, and sometimes we have to, unfortunately, with the body particularly, do it not do more, but do it for longer before we see the actual reward. And this is another thing. People will say to you, "Oh, something's changed, looking good." We won't even see it ourselves, which is why progress pictures are so good as well. And I know, kind of, in a sense, I'm as guilty as the next fitness person for saying, let's do things in 28-day cycles, and let's do 3-month programs and monthly memberships and this and that kind of implies that a lot can be achieved in that time, and a lot can be achieved in that time. But it's that frustrating thing. It might not be the stuff that you want to see change. Something's changing, and then over time the other stuff will change. And just another thing for guys as well, actually, we've got as guys much more likelihood of building muscle, and we're not, for a lot of people, we're not in a sense aiming to build massive amounts of muscle, but if the stimulus is new and you're adding training for the first time ever or in a while or whatever, then actually it's likely that the body composition is changing more than the scales. And that's not saying that fat turns to muscle. It doesn't, but the fat loss can be going on, and muscle can be at least being used and improved without kind of building in terms of bodybuilder building, and that negates each other. They balance each other out in terms of body composition changing. So then the scales won't move, because as one's coming down, fat's coming down, you're using it up, it's getting burnt, you're having a bit of muscle building going on. But it's not impossible to build muscle in a calorie deficit. I always set my calorie deficits fairly low to make sure people have got plenty of energy to put into workouts. And you can lose weight without working out, but you need more of a calorie deficit, and that's a bit rubbish. So actually, most people psychologically, I'm doing some stuff to achieve this over here. I like to do. People generally like action towards a goal. So have a bit more food and use it to have great workouts, do great exercise, have more energy for family, walks, whatever it looks like, work. We've got to take that into account, haven't we? We've got to be able to work, therefore for guys, because that calorie deficit isn't really, really hard, there is the nutrients available to improve and at least maintain and maybe build a little bit of muscle as well. So that's another reason why we might not see a huge change on the scales, whereas the composition's changing. So key things, I know it's frustrating. There will be points where actually you can see a big difference, and then don't get disheartened if it seems to go backwards, because there's so many factors going on, so many different things with the body that it is it's a roller coaster of changes, and hopefully overall our roller coaster is heading in the right direction. And if it's a weight loss graph, it's dropping down, and in terms of fitness and how things work, it's going up, and hopefully measurements are going down the right places. And for guys, sometimes they either stay the same or go up a little bit. You know, most guys that I've trained who do the measurements consistently will see the biceps staying the same size or getting a tiny bit bigger. They might even see the same on the legs, whereas most ladies will see waist coming down, hips coming down, legs coming down, maybe even their arms coming down as well, because of just the areas that they tend to hold fat, and they're doing everything towards fat loss. It'll work in that way. So I know it's frustrating. There's going to be positives along the way. Just keep going. You know, be patient, keep working at it, and any help and support I can give you, please ask. And even if that is for me to say, Joe, you're doing everything right, because I'm 99.9% certain, you know, with the contact I have with you guys and what I hear from you and what you message me and back and forth, you're doing the right things. It's just being patient and understanding that the body is doing something. Your effort is creating something going on. The stimulus is working, the calorie deficit's working, and it's just kind of hang on in there, and actually then you'll see it change. You'll see the changes, even if they're not there. It's not the exact data measurement you want to change. Something's going on. So yeah, keep persevering, keep going, be patient, be consistent, and you know, any help or support I can give, just please give me a shout. And yeah, we'll just keep moving forward. We'll just keep on going, day by day, week by week, and yeah, enjoy the process, and the results will come. So have a really good Monday evening. I'm going to go and have some sausage casserole type bake that the kids have made tonight, which is really good. Hannah directed them and gave the ingredients, but they've put it together. So looking forward to that. And yeah, back in the morning at 8 AM for the Tuesday Tabata. Don't forget all these workouts in the group and on the website. And yeah, more logins going out to make sure everyone can log into the website. Any problems with that, please give me a shout. And yeah, have a really good Monday evening. It's actually come nice, so maybe we'll have a little bit of nice weather for our evening dog walks and all those other things that we do. I think we're starting to take the weather for granted a little bit, so I'm glad we had the rain, because my grass was looking very bare, but now we're hopefully maybe back into some nicer evenings at least. Great stuff. Have a good one, guys. I'll speak to you soon.